ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। We are now in the 18th chapter where Lord Krishna is summarizing all the teaching that he gave in all these 17 chapters. And we have to understand one thing, that Bhagavad Gita is meant for a Madhyama Adhikari. It's for people like us who are not capable of giving up everything to the exclusive pursual of Atmajnanam, leave everything and do what is called as Sarva Karma Sannyasa and go away. It's not for people like us. It is not for even Arjuna, who was a Madhyama Adhikari. Therefore, in the entire Bhagavad Gita, though Bhagwan talks very frequently about the Jnana Yoga, very frequently he talks about Asthita Prajna, talks about the ultimate knowledge to be that of Atmajnanam, and talks about Jivan Mukti. All these topics he talks about, but Bhagwan comes back again and again and again to Karma Yoga. And he says that whatever is to be done, wherever you are, in whatever status of life you are, whatever is for you to be done, may you do that thing. But how? By doing karma phala tyaga. So the entire message of Bhagavad Gita is not karma tyaga, but karma phala tyaga. And you see, the entire jagat, even if you take our day to day living, what is our day to day living? In by the way of interacting with the other people, other jivas of the jagat, what are we doing? We are taking something from the world and we are giving something in return. Little bit we are taking, little bit we are giving. Other than that, what else is there? This is the entire human vyavahara. And what Bhagwan Krishna says is, it is necessary for us who are still here, when we give something, when we receive something, we do whatever we have to do, play our roles. Each one of us have come with a script. We have come with a role to play. And what Lord Krishna says is, play your role. You may have to play multiple roles. It doesn't matter. Most of us are playing multiple roles. It's not one role. We may be playing the role of a parent, of a teacher, of a guru, so many things. Yes, but then what Lord Krishna says is, karma tyaga or karma sannyasa is not the message for See, Upanishads are there, Brahma Sutras are there for all those people who are highly prepared for this kind of a knowledge to give up everything. But here, Bhagavad Gita, we must understand, is for people, common people like us, who are Madhyama Adhikaris, who want to know what it is to really get free from this life, but not fully prepared yet. Our intellects are not yet prepared for that kind of a thing. Therefore, Bhagwan Krishna very, very clearly says that it is karma sannyasa. Nyasa means what? Nyasam means giving up. Samnyasa, samyak nyasa. That means completely giving up, properly giving up. And actually speaking, he says, Sarva karma sannyasa cannot really happen to ordinary people, madhyama adhikaris like us. It is only a sthita prajna who has had adequate preparation of the mind by karma yoga, by upasana yoga, and has gone through the jnana yoga in the form of adequate shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam. And this knowledge has been literally assimilated. And it's only such a person who can be called as a Jivan Mukta. And it is only such a person, even while he's playing his roles here and now, he's free from all the karmas. And this kind of a karma sannyasa is what Lord Krishna is expecting from us. It is sarva karma sannyasa through this knowledge, not by giving up the whole jagat and going away and leading a monastic lifestyle. And that is why Arjuna kept on asking this question again and again. And every time we find, most of the time, Bhagwan is coming back to do your karma, do your karma. Offer all your actions to me as Ishvara Arpana, and then accept whatever comes as Ishvara Prasada. And here also, in the 18th chapter also, the first 17 verses that we studied up till now, up till in the last time we studied up till the 17th verses. Here what does Bhagwan say? He talks about sannyasa in the form of tyaga itself. When Arjuna asked the question, what is the difference between sannyasa and tyaga? Bhagwan does not differentiate at all. He says karma phala tyaga and sannyasa is one and the same. And I gave you all the various shlokas from Bhagavad Gita itself in the last session, where Bhagwan is not simply doing the stuti of Karma Yoga. No, Bhagwan's intention is not simply to praise Karma Yoga, but to make Arjuna aware that, look, Arjuna, at present, this is what is needed for you. Yes, the ultimate goal of every human being is Jivan Mukti, it is moksha. But for that, adequate preparation has to be there. And ultimate Sarva Karma Sannyasa can happen only by this knowledge and nothing else. Therefore, Arjuna, take up to whatever duty you have to do. Fight this war, which is your immediate duty at present. You are not yet ready to go towards a monastic way of lifestyle. This is what up till now Lord Krishna has explained. And when we talked about three things, that is the Sattvika Sannyasa, Rajasa Sannyasa, and Tamasa Sannyasa till the 17th verse. What Bhagwan wants to say is the Sattvika Sannyasa is nothing but Karma Yoga. What is Sattvika Sannyasa? We saw that earlier. The Sattvika Sannyasa is where one does the karma that he's supposed to do without trying to run away from doing the karma. At the same time, he knows that ultimately the phalam that comes is not really in my hands. I only have the adhikara at this moment of time, whatever is to the best of my ability, with all my previous experience and with all my previous knowledge. This is what I can do right now to the best of my ability. It may be a wrong action, it may be a right action, I do not know. But at the same time, not getting unduly entangled with the karma itself, and not getting entangled or having anxiety about what the karma phala is going to be. I do my work and leave the rest to that variable called as, this law of karma. Bhagwan is nothing but karma phala dhata. Therefore, Bhagwan or Ishvara is the one who wields this law of karma. And whatever results I have to get, ultimately what has to come to me, what doesn't have to come to me, is something which depends entirely on the law of karma. And it is a law which is something which I cannot understand when I'm doing whatever karma I'm doing. So he says that ultimately, Arjuna, Satvika sannyasa is nothing but karma yoga. Now, with this, with the 17th verse, the three types of sannyasa, the Satvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa sannyasas, Bhagwan has completed. In the sense, he has talked about karma yoga in detail. Again, he has summarized the karma yoga in detail in the first 17 verses. Now, from the 18th verse, the topic is going to slightly change. Bhagwan is going to take up 6 topics for discussion, and all the 6 topics are going to be discussed from the point of view of Satvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa gunas. Very interesting. And in the 18th verse, Bhagwan says, let's see what he says. Jnanam Jneyam Parijnata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Karteti Trividham Karma Sangraha. Now, let us just look at, I'll just give you a brief introduction to this verse before I explain to you. Now, our entire lives, if you really look at it, are what? Knowing and doing. Knowing and doing. Is there anything else? Nothing. I know and then I do. That is why it is said in our scriptures, Janati, Ichhati, Yatate. When I know something, by that process of knowing, I get a knowledge of something. Once I get the knowledge of what is to be done, then I have desire to get that. Ichhati. Then yatate. And yatate is what? Karma, doing. Knowing, doing, knowing, doing is what I am doing all my life. If you look at our day to day activities, it is nothing but knowing and doing. Maybe more of knowing, less of doing on one day, less of knowing and more of doing on another day. But our entire vyavahara is nothing but jnana vyavahara and karma vyavahara. Ultimately, there are only two things we are doing. Either we are knowing in the form of jnana vyavahara, or taking up to some action, doing in the form of karma vyavahara. Now, let us see the first few years of our lives, up to say 20 years or 25 years. What are we doing? We are only knowing, jnana vyavahara is predominant, correct? We go to school, we go to college, we go to our professional course. At that time, what we are doing is related to the jnana vyavahara. Whatever we are doing, going to the school, learning from a guru, and then doing whatever has to be done there, it is entirely connected with jnana vyavahara. So up till about 20 to 25 years of our life, what are we doing? We are only knowing, accumulating knowledge. And at a certain stage, when we feel and when the society feels that sufficient amount of learning has taken place, not that entire learning has taken place, when sufficient amount of learning has taken place, then there is a desire to do something. That is why once I finish a graduation or something in any field, then there is a desire to join some kind of an employment, join a job and start doing something, isn't it? It doesn't mean that when I start my job, I know everything. No, I don't know most of the thing. And as and when I start working also, I start knowing more and more. That's why there is this term learning on the job. None of us really, as we are today in our own professions, knew all these things when we started our profession. Because whatever little we knew, yes, we knew. But then once we have earned sufficient amount of knowledge, then there is a desire, there is an ichha to use this knowledge and do something. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to join this particular job, do this, earn this much, all this. So this desire comes. So janati, the first stage is to know. Then ichhati, there is a desire to use whatever I have learned, whatever I have known. And then yatate. Yatate means what? I am making an effort to do. So ultimately, till the end of our lives, what are we doing? We are only knowing, desiring, doing. Knowing, and after knowing, there is a desire to do and do. So knowing and doing. Jnana vyavahara, karma vyavahara. This is entirely the entire human life, we can say. We cannot talk about the other jivas, because here the adhikara for Bhagavad Gita is for the human beings. So let us talk about the human beings here. It is that these are the only two vyavaharas that are happening. If that is so, what are the, what are the components of knowing and what are the components of doing. That is what Lord Krishna is explaining here in this, which is going to be the sutra shloka up till the 40th verse. From this verse up till 40th verse, Bhagwan Krishna is going to take 6 topics connected with jnana vyavahara and karma vyavahara and describe these in terms of the 3 gunas. So let us see what are the components of these 3. That is what here Bhagwan is trying to explain. He says here, Jnanam, Jneyam, Parignata, Trividha Karma Chodana. Karma Chodana, that means to desire to do something. Chodana means, that stimulation for me to do something arises out of knowledge, isn't it? I know something and then I want to experience it. If I don't know something, then there is no desire at all to know something about it, to do something about it. Say, if I know that there is a place called Switzerland, then I have probably a desire to go and visit that place. Imagine a person who doesn't have any idea of any place like that. Where is the desire for him to even go and see that place or visit? So, if you see our elders, they did not know as much as we know now. And therefore, their desires were much lesser than what our desires are today. But today, we know much more than what they did. And therefore, our desires to experience and do something about what we know is much more. Therefore, he says, for karma chodana, to stimulate one into action, there are 3 things which are necessary, which are the components of the knowing process or the jnana vyavahara. What are the 3 components of jnana vyavahara? Jnanam, jneyam, parignata. Jnanam means the knowledge itself, the process of knowing, or jnanam, or the knowledge itself is called as jnanam here. Jnanam can mean the process of knowing. Jnanam can also mean the knowledge itself of a particular object. So jnanam is one component. Neyam, I have to know about something. What is it that I know about, that is called as neyam? Do you remember in the 13th chapter, Lord Krishna asked, what is Jnanam and what is Neyam? And there, what did Bhagwan say about Neyam? It is this Aksharam Brahma, which is to be known, is the Neyam for a Mumukshu. For a Mumukshu, what is it to be known? The Neya Vastu, or that which is supposed to be known by a Mumukshu, that is a Moksha Purusharthi, is it Aksharam Brahma? To know what this Brahman is. And what is the connection between me and this Brahman? Am I the same as Brahman or different from Brahman? This is the Neyam. The Neya Vastu there is Brahman. Here, Bhagwan says it, he uses it in the general parlance. Neyam means the object of knowledge. What is it to be known? Jnanam means the process of knowing and the very knowledge itself. Parignata, there should be a knower. Correct? There should be a knower who knows, a knower who utilizes a certain method of knowing and gets the knowledge of whatever object he wants to know. This in our Shastra is called as the Triputi. Triputi means the 3 things which are necessary. Parignata, Jnata, then Jnanam, Neyam. Our scriptures also call it as Pramata, Pramana, Prameya. Pramata means the knower, the one who knows. Pramana means the instruments of knowledge through which something is known. Prameya means the object of knowledge. That is why we have certain names for gods. Aprameya. Vishnu Sahasranama we find Aprameya. Lalita Sahasranama also we call for, we have this word Aprameya. That means it's not an object of knowledge. It is the very subject consciousness. So here Prameya, Pramata, Pramana, Prameya, or Jnata, Jneyam and Jnanam. These 3 are the ones which are called as the ultimately the 3 components of knowledge. The 3 components of knowledge. Then he says Trividha Karma Chodana. Then what about the karma? What about the process of doing itself? The process of doing, he says, Karanam Karma Karteti. Karanam, that means the instruments through which I do. What are the instruments through which I do something? The external instruments called as my own sense organs, isn't it? I use the ears, I use the eyes, I use the hands, feet, and other things. So my own bahya karanas are the karanas or the instruments with which I do something. Then karma. What is karma? The object of my action. The object of my action. That means what? I want to go to the forest. The forest becomes the object of my action. Correct? So, Karanam, the instrument, the outer instruments like my sense organs, Antak Karana, the inner Karanam also, which I use for doing whatever has to be done, Karma, the object of my karma, and Karta. The same Jnata becomes the Karta. The one who knows becomes the one who does everything, whatever it is. The one who knows about something becomes the doer of that particular knowledge. Therefore, he says there are three things here: Jnanam, Neyam, Parijnata, Trividha, Karma Chodana. That which stimulates or brings about the possibility of a karma. And the entire karma is what? The action is what? What are the components of the entire process of action? Karanam, the external instruments, the sense organs, Antakaranam, Karma, the object of my karma or the object of my action for which I am doing the action, and Karta, the very doer. Iti Trividaha Karma Sangraha. Now, Bhagavan wants to take up all these and wants to describe all of them in three forms, in what is the Satvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa. So, in the next verse, in the 19th verse, Bhagwan says which of these components now he wants to take up for description in full. That is, what is Rajasic, Tamasic, and Satvik, which of them? Now, there is Jnanam, Nyayam, Parijnata, Karanam, Karma, Karta. Out of them now, how many is he going to take up for further description? So, let us see the 19th verse. He says, ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिधैव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसङ्ख्याने यथावत् शृणुतान्यपि Yathavat Shrunu. Hey Arjuna, may you listen the way it has to be listened properly. Yathavat. As I am telling you, try to understand and listen. And what is it? I'm going to, out of all these that I have explained in the previous verse, I'm going to take up three things for explanation. What are they? Jnanam, Karma, Karta. What is knowledge? That is the first thing. And in that knowledge also, what is sattvic knowledge? What is rajasic knowledge? What is tamasic knowledge? What is karma? Here, karma is not taken in the previous verse's sense. In the previous verse, what did we say? Karma means the object of my action. Here, karma means the very action itself. So, here, karma, the action itself, in three ways. What is a sattvic action? What is a rajasic action? What is a tamasic action? That I'm going to tell you. Kartacha, the karta, the one who was a nyata earlier, and immediately he becomes a karta. What kind of a karta is he? Is it a satvika karta, a rajasa karta, or tamasa karta? Tridhaiva guna bhedataha. So these three, from the point of these three gunas, guna bhedataha. And who have explained this? In which shastra has it been explained? What is the pramana for these kind of actions? Three based on these three gunas. We have already seen in Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga in the 14th chapter. We have already seen how everything is divided based on sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic preponderance of the gunas. The same thing is being told here in this relationship to jnanam, karma, and karta. That is knowledge, action, and the doer of the action. So, where is it told? Prochate guna sankhyaane. The Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya is a darshanam also. It is also a darshanam from which Vedanta borrows sometimes. We borrowed once where the 24 tattvas with which the Prakriti or Kshetram was formed. In the 13th chapter, Kshetrajnam Chapi Mam Vidhi, in that, what is that Kshetram which was explained in the 13th chapter? With reference to 24 components, they were also taken from Sankhya. The gunas are also taken from the Sankhya philosophy of Kapila Muni. So here he says, Prochate guna sankhyane yathavachrunu tanyapi. Whatever I am going to say now, please listen carefully, Arjuna. So now he explains this jnanam or knowledge in three ways. What is sattvic knowledge? What is rajasic knowledge? What is tamasic knowledge? The next three verses, 20, 21, and 22 verses. Before we go to the verses, I would like to give an explanation as to how Krishna is explaining these in terms of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic knowledge. Now, for the explanation here, Bhagwan takes up self knowledge, the knowledge about oneself. Jnanam can be any knowledge. Okay, Jnanam does not mean only self knowledge. Jnanam means the knowledge of something. Knowledge of anything is called as Jnanam. But for this discussion here, since Bhagavad Gita is the Moksha Shastra, though Karma Yoga is predominantly discussed by Bhagavan, whenever there is a possibility of discussing about this Atma Vidya or Moksha Shastra, Bhagwan always brings about and connects it to Atma Vidya. So Jnanam here means Atma Jnanam. Atmajnana means what? Knowing the reality of myself. What am I? What is my swarupam? What is my reality? Iti, knowing this is called as jnanam here in this parlance, in these three verses. Which jnanam does Bhagwan take? Not the knowledge of the world outside, not the knowledge of XYZ, no. The knowledge of oneself. What does one know about oneself? What is it that is to be known about oneself? This jnanam is going to be taken in three forms, in the form of sattvika, rajasa, and tamasa jnanani. So now let us see. I'll just tell you in brief. Normally, when I say I, normally, the I only refers to the body. Correct? I say, I am so and so, referring to the body. I was born on such and such a date, referring to the body. I am the son or daughter of so and so, referring to the body. I belong to the family of so and so, again belonging to the body. So normally when I say I, you know, I am only identifying myself with the body only. And most of the time, I'm not even aware that there is something other than the body. This body is the grossest one, the Sthula Sharira, but there are layers of subtler and subtler layers called Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira in me. At present, I do not know that. And I identify myself only with this gross physical body as I. And there are many darshanas, philosophies which also depend on this. They are called as Lokayatikas, or they are also called as the Charvakas. There's a Charvaka philosophy which says there is nothing other than the body. There is only this body. When the body is born, you are born. When the body dies, you die. There's nothing called as Sukshma Sharira. There is nothing called as Atma. There is nothing else. Therefore, as long as you are alive, may you live happily. There's nothing called dharma, adharma, nothing called punya, papa, no traveling of the jiva. There's nothing called as a jiva. There is only this body. This is not our view. This is not what Krishna is saying. Please be very careful. This is not the view of the Shastra. These are all the what are called as the Nastika Darshanas. Those who do not have any kind of a faith or any kind of a shraddha in the Vedas. So these people, Charvakas, they say that body is I am the body. There is nothing else other than body. And Bhagwan says this kind of an identification with the body alone, thinking that other than the body there is nothing else, this is called as a tamasa jnanam. But then there are people who understand that, okay, if this body is the only thing, then once the body dies, then our scriptures say that a jiva travels and then accumulates papa punyas, that there is, we have all heard, we have all been exposed to this, what is called as apatata jnanam, that though we are not very sure about it, but then we have heard, we have been exposed to this kind of a talk that there is a soul or there is something which is inhabiting in this gross body, and it is at the time of being born, it is the same sukshma sharira which comes in search of a new body, And when this body dies, it is that same jiva in the form of Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, leaves this body, and according to its karma, it embodies itself in its next incarnation in some other body of some other jiva, iti we have heard. So there are many of us who understand that I'm not only the body, there is something else. We are seeing so many things. We are seeing things like child prodigies who are born at the age of 3 or 4 years. They are able to sing, they are able to play instruments, they are able to perform. Now we see all these and we have heard, yes, there is something which is called as a traveling jiva. There is something which is called as the Sukshma Sharira. And the Sthula Sharira is not the only thing. It is this Sharira which dies, but there is something else which is subtler to this gross body. It is this knowledge where a person understands that there is something deeper, subtler, other than this body. At the same time, different people are there. Therefore, there are different Sukshma Shariras. There are different kinds of different jivas and different bodies are there. And every jiva is fulfilling its particular function here and going away and coming back. That's all. There's nothing more than this is known. And here also, some amount of punya papa, maybe the person understands that yes, if I do some good, good work, and if I do something good, maybe some punya accrues to this jiva. That also the person may be knowing. Very vague knowledge. But the person knows that this body is not the ultimate. There is something other than this body which is traveling, coming, and going. This idea about myself being the Sukshma Sharira, other than the gross physical body, Bhagavan calls it as Rajasa Jnanam. And such a person sees different Sukshma Shariras in different jivas and different bodies. Yes, correct. Then what is Satvika Jnanam? Bhagavan says that when a person realizes, understands, after enough of Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Naishalyam, when a person has gone to the Guru and learned the Shastra properly and understands that I am neither the Stula Shariram, nor the Sukshma Shariram, nor the Karana Shariram, but I am that Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. I am the content consciousness, the Dehi, the consciousness I am. I am neither the Sthula nor the Sukshma Sharira. And this consciousness is one and the same in every jiva. It is not different like the different Sukshma Shariras. I, this consciousness here, and that consciousness in all the other jivas is one and the same. The one who understands this, such a knowledge is called as Satvika Jnanam. So this is with reference to knowledge about oneself. So let's see now what Krishna says about these three. As I have described earlier, explained it now, it will be easier for us to study the shlokas now. So in the 20th shloka, Bhagwan says, Sarva bhuteshu ye naikam bhavamavyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tadjnanam vidhi satvikam. Arjuna, may you note this knowledge about yourself, about oneself, to be Satvika Jnanam. What? Sarva Bhuteshu Yena Yekam Bhavam Avyayam Ikshate. Yekam Avyayam Bhavam. What did Krishna say? Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. The one who knows that ekam, one and the only, avyayam, that which does not waste away, that nityam, bhavam, the presence or the chaitanyam. Bhavam here means chaitanyam or presence. The one who sees one consciousness, one witness consciousness, one subject knowing consciousness in all the bodies, in all the jivas, sarva bhuteshu, ikshate. Sarva Bhuteshu. How? Sarva Bhutanta Bhutatma Bhutatma. We saw that in the 6th chapter. Sarva Bhutatma Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta Atma iti. I am that consciousness. I, that which I call as I, the subject, the Sakshi, is the same in all the jivas iti. The one who knows. And the one who sees Avibhaktam Vibhakteshu. The bodies are different. It looks as if this avibhaktam, this indivisible consciousness, is divided into many only because of the different containers. The content is the same. Like you have some 10 open vessels kept, the space in all the 10 vessels is the same, but because of the vessels being there, it looks as if one space in one vessel is different from the space in another vessel. But ultimately, there is no difference. There is one space, and it is one space which is available in all the vessels which are open. Similarly, avibhaktam, that indivisible consciousness, vibhakteshu, which is present in all the bodies of all the jivas, tad jnanam, may you know that this understanding is satvika jnanam. Then what is rajasa jnanam? 21st verse. पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नानाभावान् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम्. Now, Arjuna, may you know that knowledge about yourself to be what? Rajasam. If you know yourself to be how? How are you supposed to know yourself in Rajasa Jnanam? Prithakvena tu yajnanam. I am different from you. You are different from me. A is different from B, B is different from C. Different people are different. Why? Because the bodies are also different. At the same time, that which is there within, that which Dehi, which is there within, also is different in different people. Because different people talk in different ways, behave in different ways, they have different ideas about what things are, they have different desires, they have different karmas. Each one is behaving the way he behaves or she behaves. So how can you say that it is the same or same sukshma sharira? It must be a different one. And when one person dies, another person does not die. Therefore, what does it mean? Prithakvena, as separate. Prithak means separate. Prithakvena tu yajnanam. This knowledge in which I see myself to be that shariram, not the stula shariram, but something other than that. But nana bhavan pritak vidhan, which is given here. Nana bhavan. I see different jivas as different things in different bodies. Pritak vidhan nanan, pritak vidhan nana bhavan pritak vidhan, pritak vena, in different ways. I see everything as different. Sukshma. Yes, we are not all the stula shariras, but we are all different sukshma shariras. There my knowledge ends. I don't go beyond that. Veti sarveshu bhuteshu. The one who understands like this, tad jnanam vidhi rajasam. This knowledge is called as rajasa jnanam. Then what is tamasa jnanam? Yattu kritsnavade kasmin कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्त्वार्थवदल्पञ्च तत्तामसनु तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. So what is this tamasika jnanam? Kritsnavat ekasmin karye. I am nothing but this body. Nothing other than this body. Different people are different bodies. I have nothing to do with another person. Different jivas are different bodies. And artha, atatvartha, atattva artha. There is no tattva in this at all. Nowhere it is described like this. So it is not based upon any pramana. Without any pramana also, without any kind of a proof for such a thing, he believes that other than this body, there is nothing else. Tad alpam, it is only this much, nothing more than that. And saktam ahaitukam. Ahaitukam means this is a knowledge which has no pramana, no meaning at all. It is a meaningless knowledge. It is something which is just a figment of one's imagination, and there are systems of philosophy built on this, mind you, and there are people who have their own philosophy, and they will also be one of the people who are purva pakshis or contenders to have a vada with the advaitin, saying that this whole jiva is nothing but this body itself. There are systems of philosophy, they are all tamasic philosophies, and people who believe in this, where there is no pramana in the Vedas, where there is no pramana in the Shruti, that is ahaitukam. And that is alpam. This knowledge is alpam and it is atattvartham. There is no tattva artha here at all. It is not based upon any kind of a proved system of knowledge, and therefore such pure materialists, in English they are called as materialists, lokayatanas, or they are called as charvaka philosophy. Such a thing is tat tamasam jnanam udahritam. Such a jnanam is called as tamasa jnanam. So with this jnanam he wanted to talk about, then karma and karta he wanted to talk about. So jnanam is over. There are three types of jnanam, and here, mind you, jnanam can be knowledge of anything. Knowledge of music is also jnanam, jnanam of dance is jnanam. But here, Bhagwan chooses, being Moksha Shastra, Bhagwan chooses the type of knowledge to be Atma Jnanam and divides it into three different gunas of jnanam. Now, in the next one, in 23rd, 24th, and 25th verses, which will complete today, here he takes up about the three types of karma. Karma means the action here. As I told you, not the object of action, the very act itself. Whatever action is done by a karta, what kind of an action is it? Is it a sattvic action? Is it a tamasic action or a rajasic action? So, three types of actions themselves are talked about. Let's take the 23rd verse. He says, Niyatam sangarahitam aragatveshatah kritam aphala karma yattat sattvikam. This is typical karma yoga, which was described in the second chapter, in the third chapter. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva, Dhananjaya. Then karmam kuru what is that? Yogastha kuru karmastvam Sangarahitam, Atma Vishuddhaye. It is, in the fifth and sixth chapters it was talked about. Similarly, here, the same exactly the Karma Yoga definition is given here for Satvika Karma. What does he say? Niyatam Sangarahitam. Niyatam Karma. What is the meaning of Niyatam? Whatever you are supposed to do, whatever the Vedas, whatever the Shastra tells that at your particular stature in life, you may be a Grahastha, you may be a Vanaprasthi, you may be, a Brahmachari or a Sannyasi, whatever, depending upon your, Varna and your ashrama, whatever are the things that you are supposed to do. Whatever karma is to be done, that is called as vihitam karma or niyatam karma. In the last session, in the first, session itself, the first session of 18th chapter, I talked about the different types of karmas and how different people say giving up a particular type of karma is sannyasa and not giving up any other type. No, it is not like that. Niyatam karma means what? What am I supposed to do? If I am a grahastha now, and if I am responsible for a certain family to do certain things, various roles that I'm playing in this jagat as a grahastha, whatever I'm supposed to do at this moment of time, the way I'm supposed to do it, I have to do it. Play my role, play my responsibilities to the best of my ability without trying to escape from my responsibilities. Moksha is not for an escapist. I have to be here, do my work, niyatam karma, prepare my mind. As and when I am doing my karma, I have to prepare myself with karma yoga, upasana yoga, and everybody is fit for this knowledge. It does not mean that just because you have a set of karmas that are given, which are to be done by you, it does not mean that you are not a candidate for moksha. No. Doing what I am doing, living the life of Karma Yoga, I prepare myself, my intellect for this jnanam and pursue this jnanam. So, niyatam sangarahitam, not attached either to this karma as my karma. I have done this, I have to do this. At the same time, no sangha to the karma phala also. Whatever talk was talked about, what karma neva adhikarahate ma phaleshu kadachana. That means what? I have no adhikara over the phala. So, sangarahitam. As far as the karma is concerned, also, I don't take it as my karma. This is to be done by me now. Maya idam kartavyam iti. I do the karma, and at the same time no sangha, no attachment with the karma phala also, and araga dveshatah kritam, done without being propelled by raga dveshas, not propelled by because I want this result, I am doing this kamya karmas. Kamya karmas means Veda doesn't say don't do. If you want something, do it dharmically. I will tell you how to do it, it says. But then, when I have a phalam in view and I do the karma, then that karma may not ultimately satisfy me. It may even keep me bound to the karma and karma phala. So, aragadveshataha, without hating what I am doing, without wanting to do something more than what I am doing, not propelled by ragadveshas. The entire philosophy of Gita is dilution of ragadveshas, mind you. Everywhere what Lord Krishna is telling is, may you get out of the hold of ragadveshas. If I get out of the hold of ragadveshas, whatever I do is the right action. Wherever I am, whatever I do becomes the right action. So he says here, aragadveshataha kritam. That means I am not propelled by desires, not propelled by raga and dvesha for a certain action. Aphala prepsuna karma. Aphala prepsu means the one who's not all the time sticking on to this is going to be my phalam. For this phalam, I am doing this. All the time anxiety, expectation, not that one should not expect the phalas. Nobody will do the karma if I don't have an expectation of karma phala, but unduly attached to what will happen, what will happen, will I get this or not, I must get this much, will I get this much, will I get more, will I get less, all the time being anxious and worried about what is going to be the result of my action. This is what is called as phala prepsu. So, aphala prepsuna, not having any anxiety about the results of my actions because I have done the right thing. To the best of my ability, whatever I have to do, I have done. And I have offered my actions, whatever may be my action, to Ishvara as Ishvara, offering. I have done that, and whatever comes now, let it come. I am going to accept it happily without any kind of a sangha. So, this kind of a karma, he says, yatyat satvikam uchyate. Then, what is Rajasa karma? In the 24th verse, Bhagwan says, Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasamudahritam. So, any karma done totally, flogged by desire. I must do this, I must get this, I must get more and more, I must have more and more of this, do more and more of this. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. All the time, planning for how to get more and more and more, driven by ragas, raga and dvesha. And sa ahankarena vapunaha. Ahankarena. All the time, I am doing this karma. There is that manitvam in me, there is that dambitvam and ahankara at the level of the thought, at the level of the speech, at the level of my action also, all the time full of ahankara. Aham, aham iti. I am doing this. I am doing it for this particular thing. I am going to get it. It should be got. If I don't, then I am willing to do anything for this. I am willing to do any kind of a dharmic action also. Doesn't matter if others are hurt when I am doing something, but then I should get what I want. I am propelled by this ragadvesha to achieve something with full of ahankara, sahankarena vapuna, kriyate bahulayasam, all the time stressed for doing, can't sit 1 minute quietly, all the time this should be done for this purpose, this should be done for this purpose. If I don't do this now, I will not get it. Bahulayasam, straining and stressing oneself physically, emotionally, psychologically, of course, all the time stress only, but all the time wanting something more, wanting to do something more, because I cannot sit quiet, I cannot sit for even a minute without doing anything. Even doing my japa is not possible even for 5 minutes, because there are so many thoughts, so many desires which are flogging me. Do this, do this, do this, this has to be achieved, this has to be achieved, this has to be done, that has to be done. All the time can't sit in one place. Such a person who is flogged into activity, bahulayasam, the very physical activity itself, the very mental planning itself, the very, all the time thinking about what result I'm going to get out of this whole thing, such a karma, such an action is called as rajasam karma. So now you may say, does it mean that one should not plan anything at all? One should simply, not do any. No, it does not mean that. Veda does not say, or Vedanta does not say don't plan. Even my going to a guru is planning. Even listening, sitting for 2 hours and sitting, listening to the Shastra is planning. Mananam is planning. Nididhyasanam is planning. But what is meant by it? This planning is something which I do, whatever is necessary. See, if I have to travel after 2 months somewhere, I can't just say that, okay, let that day come, then let me see. That becomes procrastination and that becomes tamasic actually. Whatever is necessary to be done, whatever necessary planning is to be done, I do that. But then I leave it at that. Yes, this has to be done for tomorrow. If I have to do this, I have to make the preparations today. Yes, I will do that and make keep everything ready and do whatever it is. Finish. I don't then bother about what happens tomorrow about it. So bahulayasam kriyate, this rajasa karma makes the person tired. So this person is, eternally tired. And the person says, I'm fed up, I'm tired, I want to retire. But do you think such a person can really sit doing nothing when he retires? It's not possible. So he is kama ipsuhu, kamepsuna karma, all the time flogged by desire for something. Ragadveshas are propelling this person to do actions. All the time, I'm the doer, I'm the doer, I have to get this, I have spent this much of my energy, I have spent this much of time, this is the result I have to get. Iti sahankarena va punah kriyate bahulayasam, lot of ayasa. With lot of ayasa it is done. Such kind of a karma, it may not give me the result that I want. Depending upon my karma phala, what comes depends on the law of karma. And then I feel so much I struggled, but only this much I got ultimately and the end of it. Then suddenly, for some time, I become very philosophical. What is the point in doing all these things? Ultimately, this much only. And this kind of, so bahulayasam, psychologically injured, physically injured by tiredness. Such a karma is called as the Rajasam karma. Then in the 25th verse, Bhagwan talks about Tamasam karma, or the activity which is Tamasam. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapeksha cha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattattamasamuchyate. Mohadarabhyate. Out of delusion, I start doing a karma without even thinking about certain factors. What are they? Bhagwan mentions here. Anubandham. What are the consequences of my actions? Every time I do something, I have to think, no, it may not be 100, I may not be 100% right, but at least from my previous experience and from the experience of other people, at least I know that, okay, if I do this action, what are the consequences for me and for the people around me? So I at least give a thought to the consequences. Anubandha means consequences. But this tamasa karmi does not give a damn to the consequences. Mohat, I have to do it. Tapak, he will do it without even thinking what are the consequences of my actions. Second, kshayam, what are the losses involved? I want to start something. I want to start a particular venture. What are the losses involved here? Nothing is only gain. There are so many losses also. So if I do this particular action, what maximum can I gain? And for that gain, how much I have to lose? Some amount of understanding of what I'm losing while by doing this karma, kshayam. What are the expenses involved? Expenses not only monetarily, but my physical strength and my emotional energy and money and trouble for the others, peace of mind, everything. What is the kshayam that is involved? This action, if I do, what are the losses that I may have? That is second thing. This fellow doesn't think. Himsam anapeksha. Himsam. How much trouble it may cause to myself and to other people also. This action of mine can be really, very, very difficult for other people. People around me, people, who are very closely connected with me. My action may cause himsa to them also, to myself also. So I don't even think this tamasa karmi doesn't even think of whether his action can hurt anybody else. So no consequences are thought about. Anubandham anaveksha, kshayam anapeksha, himsam anapeksha, cha paurusham. Paurusham means what? Is it possible for me to do this or not? I have to think, do I have the capacity to do it? Paurusham. Is it possible? I can think big. I can dream big. Yes, because that is the current thing. Think big, dream big. Yes. But am I capable of really doing that? That Paurusham. Do I have, what are my inherent strengths? Am I capable of such a big vision? If I'm having something, this one to be done, this is, am I capable, or do I have the Paurusham? Do I have the capacity? Paurusham is a common word. In every language, Paurusham is used. Do you have the Paurusham? Do I have the capacity to really do this and get whatever I'm expecting? All these things this person does not bother or think about at all. So he doesn't think of the consequences. Anubandham anapeksha kshayam. What are the losses that I may have to undergo by taking this action? Does not think about it. Himsa manapeksha. What is this, himsa or the torture that I'm causing to myself, and himsa to myself and to others, disturbing myself and disturbing the others, and also paurusham. Am I capable? Yes, I want to do this. Is do I have the capacity to do it? Or if I want to do, should I take somebody's help? Or should I delegate it to somebody else who is more capable of doing it than me? Just because somebody else is doing, just because somebody else is good in something, can I also start doing that just because that person is successful? Do I have that capacity to do it? So Paurusham, Anapeksha, the one who does, Mohad, out of delusion, jumping into action without thinking of any of these four important things that one has to think of whenever a person wants to do any kind of an action. Mohad, out of delusion, without thinking. Arabhyate karma, he starts such a karma, this kind of a karma, yattat tamasam uchate. So this kind of a karma is called as a tamasa karma. So what did we see today in the entire thing? First, after having, given a summary of karma yoga up till the 17th verse, in the 18th verse, Bhagwan explained as to two things that happen in our everyday lives. That is the jnana vyavahara and also the karma vyavahara. These are the only two things that are happening. We are knowing and we are doing. And many times it is simultaneously happening. Until we die, we are learning, knowing, doing, knowing, doing. Jnana vyavahara, karma vyavahara. And Bhagwan wanted to say what are the components of jnana vyavahara in the form of jnanam, jnata, okay, and neyam. And what is this karma vyavahara? In the form of karta, karma. And what else? In the form of karta, karma, and karanam, the instruments of knowledge. These three he talked about. And then he said, out of these six factors that I have explained, Arjuna, I'll take up only knowledge, action, and the doer of action. These three, and describe these three from the point of view of the Sankhya way of explaining, taking the three gunas which you saw in the 14th chapter in the form of Sattvika Jnanam, Rajasa Jnanam, Tamasa Jnanam, Sattvika Karma, Rajasa Karma, Tamasa Karma. In which here we saw that in Jnanam also, seeing myself to be only as good as the body is Tamasa Jnanam. Understanding myself to be something more than the physical body, maybe the Sukshma Sharira, but not fully understanding my real nature as Rajasa Jnanam. And finally, the Sattvika Jnanam was that I see myself as that content consciousness which is the same in all the jivas. And when it came to karma, this karma yoga itself, which was described in the entire second part of the second chapter and third chapter, this entire karma yoga was described here as sangarahi tattvam and niyatam karma kartavyam without any kind of a phala ipsa. That was described as the sattvika karma. Rajasa karma, where driven by desires and making myself physically and psychologically, emotionally tired, and then not getting whatever results I want, only out of being pushed by ragadveshas, was called as Rajasa karma. And Tamasa karma was that where a person out of delusion jumps into the karma without thinking of the consequences of his karma, without thinking about the losses that are going to be incurred by his doing this particular karma, without even trying to see whether I'm capable of getting into this karma. whether I'm causing any kind of a, trouble or himsa or any kind of a pain to myself and others. So without even thinking of this, getting into action, jumping into action, and then regretting later, starting something now and then regretting it later. So this kind of a karma is called as tamasa karma iti. He talked about karma and jnanam. And from the next session, we'll take up the others. That is what karta is going to talk about. Three types of karta: the doer, the satvika, rajasa, tamasa karta. Then he's going to talk about the buddhi of the karta, the three types of buddhi, the three types of intellects of these three kartas. Then he's going to talk about the dhriti of these two. Dhriti means, the staying power or the willpower. Three types of willpower of a person who's the doer, connected with the doer, connected with the karta, and also ultimately the result in the form of satisfaction, happiness, or sukham that a person gets. So these four topics now with regard to the three gunas are going to be discussed up till the 40th verse. So we'll stop here today. नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्था शाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.